introduction to understand what we're going to talk about the difference between clean code, code architecture and design, and we saw how clean code means not only writing code but also some design concepts that are going to interact with it. And that's why I like starting talking about clean code and use solid principles, design principles, software design patterns. All of this stuff I like it to be under the umbrella of clean code. But all of these stuffs actually can say affect the final code that are going to be produced by you as a developer. Okay? So we are going to talk about naming, methods and function, switch statement, all this stuff. That's right. So we being for names. Imagine this family, this is an American family, okay, and they decided to call their
Maybe one, maybe two,
maybe one. Hey, maybe two. So meaning names is essential in our life, okay? So you don't, why this one comes here? Just pushing it away. Thank you. So you don't need to make the names too short, too long, and this stuff meaningful, reveal intention, because when you name, this name should describe why you use that name. Okay? Index or channel index, which one is better? Channel index means that this is a channel number, right? I have a list of channels, and it describes the channel number. Okay? Can be current channel index also, right? Not, and you can make like a variable equal channel list of channel index and call this variable current channel. It's much better, yes, right? So you can clean your code, you can make it better with naming.
Why not too long? What's the disadvantage of too long?
Oh yeah, I will show you an example in the code, but actually I can't like browse the code in front of everyone. But I can show you how too long names sometimes is bad. I have, for example, a name, edit underscore channel underscore category underscore of underscore something like that. You know, camera. It was like that long name, and this name not used alone with other functions with that long names. It's like a
the IDE, I mean, handles this. Eventually you only write this long name.
Yes, but it's not that easy to read anymore. That's why it's not too long. I'm not going to use a or use a phrase to describe something. Okay, I may use a phrase for describing a function, but it should be like once, not that much. That is the better.
Can you say that it too long affects readability?
Yes, affects readability
in a negative way.
When it affects readability in a negative way, that's a major. That's a major. When the long name affects readability, then it's not.
I only ask this because the tendency is to use short names.
Yes.
So I believe make it a little longer, but not too long. Yes.
Not too long, yes. That's the difference between too and very. Too is bad, very is okay. You are too late. Too late means that you didn't come in time. Yes. Meaningful distinction. Okay. So let's talk about every part of this naming, because naming is very important actually. So you are not writing these names for compiler. And if you are writing these names for compiler, it's okay to use fascated code. You know what the fascated code? The code that would, okay, let me show you an example. It's easy to show from anyone because that would actually belongs to the system, doesn't belong to anyone. Look at this code. Don't say that So this code is understood by the compiler. By the way, this is a JavaScript code. So the compiler can understand the code. I will make it larger. You know how to increase the percentage of code in
Zooming.
Is it browser?
no, it's Visual Studio Code.
Zooming.
I'm trying to
Control plus maybe.
control plus.
Maybe check from the tools.
No. Something here with the
Viewer.
If someone wants to come here to help, anyhow.
في magnifying في الويندوز.
Control plus or control minus?
I don't have that plus. The plus is over equal.
Control shift plus
Control
one.
shift. Right. Works. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Is it a minified code or sophisticated?
Minified, yes.
Minified.
Yes, minified. So that code is minified. This written for machine. Can you understand that code? For sure, it's not written for you. Okay. So you shouldn't be like a machine writing code for a machine. Okay. You are a human writing code for human. So don't write such code. Okay. Oh. Okay, so don't use val1, val2, and write function that copy. Okay, look at this, for example. Copy characters. I face this actually all examples in this presentation are from real life. Something that I found in different codes that I worked with. Okay, so I found this code. What is the problem with that code? This one copies an array to another array of character to another array of character. Don't look at the content. For the signature, which one is the source and which one is the destination?
A1 and A2, the name is well. A1 and
Yes, but it's a naming problem. You need to go inside. This is wasting the time of the other developers that are trying to use you. So leave it cleaner and do it like that. Okay? So when you pass in such code, you don't just, oh no, A1, what is the hell? And just call it and understand the code and use it and leave it as it is and go away. Don't do that. For sure, if the other developer saw you did it like that, you will feel shy for yourself. You won't feel like you are a bad guy, okay?
But sometimes people get sensitive.
Not all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people like A1, you do it.
You like it this way. I like it A1.
Exactly.
Some people like that.
Yeah.
This is noise word, noise word. By the way, it's noise. Okay, noise words. So, what is noise words? Product class, product info, product data. What is the difference? So I faced that. I found a place where they use product data and product info. And when I asked about the difference, they said product data hold the data of blah 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 blah, and product info
What's the
holds the
info?
information. So what is the difference? Yeah. So they are always the same. So don't use confusion. You can say like product medical specs, product medical or storage information. So that way it has a real different meaning. And the product, it's like the product holds the basic product information and the rest are more specific, more information. Okay? That's much better, right or not?
Yes.
Okay, and I face this also character data and character result sets. What's the difference? What's the difference? And also the. What about the, a, and? So all of these noise words. Also, this is an old-fashioned name, like name string. Why not just name? I faced that. Some people say name string.
Put the
type.
variable type in the
Yes,
name.
for sure he is not named 1, 2, 3, except for Elon Musk. You know, Elon Musk named his kid something really, really weird actually. You know the name of Elon Musk's son? Something I don't know. Name is always string, okay, so it's okay, it's just use name. No need for string. Function names. Get active account, get active accounts, get account, active account info. Also, these are noise names. We don't know what is the difference. Okay, but these active accounts, an active account, it has a meaning, but sometimes this S is missed. It happens to me. It's easier to say get active account list. So account list, I mean, it's easier to notice that it's a list of accounts, but when I'm busy reading the code, I'm just, why it is get active account, return a list. I'm not noticing with the S. Okay. Object names, this doesn't mean don't use S, use it, no problem. Okay, I'm just giving a hint. Object name, money amount and money, message and the message, so all of these are noise words. Remove the noise words, make it simpler. Okay, now let's make this exercise together. Focus and remember, okay? Image resolution. Okay, it's time. Okay, which one you remember? Can you say the two words? Image resolution and resolution. So for sure, naming make a difference. Okay. So what was the first and what was the second? The first image resolution, everybody said, and the second one. Because your brain remember what he understands, but if he doesn't understand what he said, your brain won't be able to remember it. Okay? So while navigating the code, it will be for sure much easier instead of use JDMD hour minute second, okay, to be generation timestamp. Modification timestamp. So it's much easier for sure. Okay? Because I'm facing these names. I'm facing these names up to now from seniors, by the way. Not I'm talking about juniors.
It's month, day, hour, minute, second.
Yeah.
Because
With him is. But this is, it's not. Okay. Use searchable names. The magic numbers. And the magic numbers is very important because I'm facing it everywhere. It's something acceptable between developers to use magic numbers. Even for me, I'm sometimes do that wrong thing. Okay. But what is magic numbers? Magic numbers are the numbers that just shown on the code and you don't know what does it mean. Okay. For example, if status equal 1, what is this one?
Go to the database.
Yes, yes, that's equal. And it's very common, by the way. Very common, even for seniors.
Sometimes it's not in the database.
Go to the developer.
In the head of the developer, just.
So if status equal draft, it's much easier. If status equal final, so you just write up there const draft equal 1, const final equal 1, and that's it. Okay, so equal 2, sorry, and that's it. It's much easier. Use searchable names, single letters. Actually, single letters in a very tiny scope, it's acceptable. You know the lambda scope? That scope. It's acceptable in that scope. Like writing users dot map you where you dot name. That's the lambda scope. You know the lambda function? Function on the fly. Okay, this is a function. Users dot map will return a list, and it will iterate in every user in this user's list. Okay, and it will put an object that's called U. I want for that U only the name. Are you confused that that U is for a certain user? It's not confusing at all. And it's very small scope that your mind can remember. It won't make a big difference if it's like that. If you understand, of course, what is lambda. Users dot map user where user dot name. You don't feel, for myself at least, I don't feel like this is more readable than this. I don't feel that. I feel it's okay to read it that way. So in very small scope, it's acceptable to use one letter. Okay? But if this scope is larger, like in many lines, it doesn't be that way. Okay? Because here, when you say integer j less than, what is this j and what is this 40 and what's happening here? But read this one, integer j, it's better to be indexed by the way. Inside not continue. Okay, so total productivity plus equal hours productivity of j. Why he left the j? Why we left the j?
Yeah, I guess the I and J are more common.
Yes, more common and we understand it. Yes.
Keep it that.
Can I ask something?
Yes, true.
Is it right to use object, the word object here?
Object of what?
Just like here, users dot map, and then instead of putting U, just writing object.
You can use object dot, yes. And we,
If the compiler lets you do this.
Hmm?
If the compiler lets you do
Yes, but here, because it's not necessary you, that's what I mean, she asks about. Yes, man will put the value here and use that value.
Is it bad practice?
It-
Is it
It's little bit, for me, it's little bit confusing. Because U for user, but object for what?
User object.
So I need to think. Okay, I need to think. Try to minimal the thinking time for any developers that's coming after you. Okay, old-fashioned naming convention also, we talked about it, like phone string. Old-fashioned naming convention also, this M underscore or I underscore, all this become old-fashioned, and we are not following these old fashions anymore. Okay, here, okay, this is an exercise. So everyone here try to fix this one. Sorry. Okay.
Any papers?
I can give them papers. At any time we can start an exercise. There is an exception for the old-fashioned rule, which is M or I or whatever, for the interface. Do you know what this interface is? Most of you? Yes. No, not the UI interface, the coding interface. You know it? No. But I think that you are the only one here know it. You code? No, it. Anyone else? The interface like saying, I can create. Okay, and we make it like that and say add, which return integer and semicolon. That's it. No delimitation, just middle names. You know it? So in interface, it's okay to use I because it differentiates between the read class and the interface. Okay, so this is an exception. And put that in your mind always. For every rule, there is an exception. But exception is accepted at the level of exception. What does it mean? Exception, if the exception is always happening, so it's not an exception, it's a rule. So if you always use the exception, this means that you are creating a new rule, which may make a mess. So you should deliberately, with wisdom, decide if this is an exception, or it is a... Okay, so classes and methods names. Okay, let's go in next.
I have a question about the name of the variable.
Yes.
M underscore, this is old fashioned. same underscore this.
Yeah.
I still sometimes see M description. For example, for the M, it refers to local variables.
Ah.
Is it still an old fashion or it's still used?
Even we use underscore for local variables.
No, I don't use underscore ever. I just use the description. I use description without M, but I see others using M description.
Yes.
For things
I
to
prefer the way you
local
do it.
variables.
I prefer the way you do it without M. Because it's easier to know that like description and it's local variable, it's in the local scope, I understand it, and it's clear that it's a local scope, no need to use any additional.
I don't know why they are
Yes.
using
The only thing that I saw some people does, which is if it is at the scope of in the shared scope, they use underscore. Okay, and it's acceptable because it differentiates between the shared scope and the internal scope of the function. When you look at the function, you understand that that variable is in the shared scope. So without the just underscore.
I have a question. Is it
This is an important question, by the way. It's a
Yeah,
very
I
important
need
question
to-
for you.
I need to hear that again.
Ah, okay. We have, he's talking about two scopes. Okay, this class, okay, the class that we were in, we have two types of variable. Variable, what we call at the shared scope, which is private variable. Integer, let's say description, use the same example. String description, okay. And we have a class here that's called, what was the class name? Set name.
What?
And we have this set name that takes name as string. The idea here, or the question here, we have two scopes. The description is used inside this scope. The description is used inside the function scope, right? So is it okay to use underscore here to differentiate between these scopes? Because I'm going to use the description here, and we have inside this the name. We have inside here the name, that name. Okay, so we have two variables. Variable that's known only inside that scope, and another variable that's known in the outer scope. So to differentiate between them, it's okay to use this underscore, which is extra name. So that exception, you know, from a few seconds I said, or a few minutes I said, if you are going to make an exception, a rule, you need to decide that. So we can decide that it's okay to use the underscore in the class scope, but inside the function itself, we don't use the underscore for variable names. Is it clear? Tamam?
Maybe they are using the M for this reason. They
Yes,
find-
he may use the M, but M, why M and the underscore?
Underscore means something in other programming languages. Like for Dart, it means private. So it
Ah.
has a meaning. So they
It has a meaning.
Mhm.
Maybe.
Sorry, what does it mean? What
What?
does underscore mean?
In Dart, it means private.
Yes, which
Not
is
underscore,
true
the
here.
M.
It
The
here
M.
means
I
private.
think underscore.
underscore? Just underscore.
In Dart, means private.
Underscore before any variable name.
Yeah.
So if I wrote a variable name underscore description,
Yes, that's a private variable.
so I don't need the M. That's what I do in C#. Okay. Okay, so now let's go to method names. Okay, how to write a good method names. Where is,
Can I say something?
yes,
Someone here had a question and he didn't get the chance.
where? I want to hear it.
I have a question, but I think
Sure.
it's like this use case don't use description. But I think sometimes
This
it's
is
not
for the underscore. Instead of the underscore, it can be used. Yes.
yeah, we can use the underscore instead of this.
You can use this, so you know that this is a shared scope,
Yeah, but I think,
even if you don't need to.
yeah, I think like this is just used when the function attribute is the same as the member.
No, it's not for that actually. It's you can say it's a sin to do that. To
Yeah.
make a shared scope variable with the same name of internal function name. This is a sin. Okay? There's no exceptions here.
Yeah. It doesn't
Okay?
mean like
So using this for that, because you did a sin, so you are trying to resolve the sin you did, okay? And say astaghfirullah. So this is this.
okay, other than that, why would I use this like it's
Because to
already known.
refer to the outer scope, like that. Okay. So instead of using this is underscore, you are going to say here this dot. And TypeScript, by the way, it enforces you to use this for shared variables. So it solves the problem. So when I write TypeScript, I don't use underscores at all. Why? Because I use this.
Inside the function, the parameter is actually also description.
Inside the function, if inside the function a parameter called description, then this
Is a mandatory.
that this will differentiate between the internal
Yeah.
description and the outside
Yeah, but
description.
you said it's a sin.
In TypeScript, because it enforces you to use this for the private or the shared variables, it won't be a sin anymore in that order. But in the other worlds, it's a sin. Okay? Unless it is input of a constructor. It's acceptable in the input of a constructor to use the same names and use this for the input and this for the shared. Okay. But actually try to avoid it.
Because the IDE just generates the setters and getters with the same name.
Yes, yes. And you don't have to do something. Why should you make the same variable outside and inside the same name? The life is much easier than that.
But sometimes in the C# Visual Studio, it ends this. Like, it's not private anymore, so you know you can just delete it.
Oh yes, it tells you can delete it.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, if you are going to not use underscore, you need to differentiate between the outer scope and the inner scope, so you may use this and it's okay at that time. You create your own rules. That's what we call naming convention. Did you hear about the term naming convention? Naming convention that you put the rules for naming inside your application, and everybody should conform to that naming convention. Usually what I do, if you are going to use Flutter, I go to Flutter website and search for naming convention. I get this link and put it for everyone and say this is the naming convention for Flutter. If I'm going to use C#, I go to Microsoft and get the link for naming convention of Microsoft and share it between the team and make small changes that I used to make for every naming convention for Microsoft. And that's it. So methods names, let's talk about methods name, okay. Use get for accessor, use set for setters, use is for when you check if it's valid, is valid, is higher than 10, if is high temperature, because higher than 10 doesn't have a meaning, okay.
Use the verb with the function.
Hmm?
Use the verb with the function.
Yes, use the verb. Yes, use the verb with the function to indicate that it is a function. And actually, I'm suffering from there is a pattern called, the Redux pattern, which is, because they use actions names as verbs, while it's classes. So it's something confusing. I'm feeling confused every time I'm dealing with that pattern. Because of that. Factory methods use names and describe the argument. For example, SQL command equal command dot from connection code. So I'm understanding it's clear that I'm creating a command for that connection. It's easy. And that way. Pick one word or per constant. Call me a cat. Okay, you are a cat. So here I found fetch, retrieve, and get. What is the difference? So if you are going to use get everywhere. Unless fetch has a different meaning for you. Like, for example, we are going to use get if you are getting data from our local system. But if you are going to get this data from other system, we are going to use fetch. Now, get and fetch has different meaning. It's still confusing sometimes, but when you know it, you will understand it if it is in our local, what we are going to call ubiquitous language after a few seconds. Okay, controllers and manager. I see this name a lot, device manager and device controller. Okay, and when I ask what is the difference between both of them, they say a developer developed controller manager and another one come to make the device controller, and they share some code. Add, insert, and create, and I found that a lot. I found many people use add for insert and insert for add, and both are in the same application with create. For me, I'm sometimes differentiating add for adding to list. So if you have a list, add for adding to list, and we can decide if you are going to use create or insert, but never, okay? To remove confusion. Okay. Also, use a meaningful context. Let's consider that we have, here we have a person with these attributes. He has a name, a company name, and address. By the way, the person shouldn't have a company name. This is a bad design, okay? But let's consider it's okay. Let's, you can say, assume. Let's assume it's okay. خلاص. Is it the person address or the address here? Is it the person address or the company address? Person, why not the company? We have a company name. Because it's a person. What is the thing that made the confusion here?
Company.
Because it's out of context, right? So you should decide where this data belongs to. Okay? It belongs to company, not belongs to person. But we do that if we have DTOs. Did you hear about DTOs? DTOs, it's called data transfer objects. These objects, its rule in life is to transfer data between two different entities. Okay? But if we are going to do that, then we have to use like person name, company name, person address. So it does the job of transferring this data correctly. But anyhow, this address it's more logically made for the person, not for the company. Now let's talk about ubiquitous language. What is a ubiquitous language? It's what I already said before. It's to have a common language between the developers of a certain team. So when someone says something, everyone understands. He may, for example, ask you, how I do that? Just create a repository. So he understands what you mean by that. Okay. This is when you see a fetch, you understand that it's getting from outside world. When you see an add, you understand that it adds to a list. So you understand that this object of a type list, even if he forgets to put the S at the end. Okay? The other developer forgets to put the S at the end. So using this ubiquitous language, the shared language between the team is important. It's what we call internal dictionary for the team. Okay? And it's better to have a wiki that describes this stuff. It won't be that much, by the way. Add for adding to a list, fetch for getting from outside world, get for getting from inside the system, and blah blah blah. Okay? So create your ubiquitous language. And this is an important advice. Spend some time to choose the name, because this name will last and people will suffer. So spend some time choosing the right name, okay? Not just any name coming to your mind. And sometimes take time to decide the name. So I write initial name, and while I'm developing, I say, oh, it's not scripted enough at that point, because I'm going to use that method that has almost the same meaning. So I change the name, and may call a friend, by the way, sometimes. I have a function that do blah 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 blah. What do you think the right name for it? You may wonder why I'm not talking to my colleague, because I'm working at home right now. Okay, let's enhance this. Everybody enhance. Okay, you can like make a team. Think of what is the enhancement that we can do that in terms of name.
Would be larger font.
A larger font. Okay. You don't have to rewrite it all. Just write where is the problem and write the solution. That's it. You don't have to rewrite the whole thing.
جمع الناس التيمز بتاع الورق.
And this is a real function from a real world app written by professional with about 5 or 6 years of experience.
We can divide as the same teams, please. Okay, Mustafa Big, me.
Okay.
Work in a team. Okay, collaborate.
Collaborate.
Yes, now, right now.
You have things together. It's easy, by the way.
Okay, different teams, but
Okay to think
just
together.
make it easy, please. Go like this. You surround like team. You are 2 teams. You can make some teams. Come please. Come here or join here.
Make it easy. No, hand from one to another. It's so easy, by the way. It should take 5 or 2
This is
minutes.
the instructor. Come to him. Anyway.
Where is the problem? You will face the problem. Then solve it. You are a developer who are going to update this class, this function. So you found some problems. Leave it cleaner than how you found it. What is the problem here? Ask me. I am the same. If you didn't understand anything, ask me.
Work as a team, guys.
Yes, it's TypeScript, but the language is not problem here.
We can change the shared value, right?
Hmm?
Shared value. I mean, this.
Where is the shared value here?
Shared value, not value. I mean, it is a value.
Where is the shared value?
Like this dot mode.
Hmm?
This dot mode selected value.
This?
Yeah.
This because as I mentioned, TypeScript forced me to use this for shared variables.
So this one we cannot change, right?
Yes, this is something that you want to change. Does it confuse you, or it give you a meaning? This. Okay, that, this. Did it make a confusion? No confusion. It added a value, by the way, because now you understand that mode selected value is for the output. It's clear and easy. Read it normal. It's not an exam. TypeScript. المشاكل اللي هتقابلها الكمبيوتر. The problems that you are going to face while reading. That's it. Okay, let's do it together. That is the target. Your brain now is trying to get it. I will read it with you, okay, and tell me if I'm wrong. That's what happened to me when I started dealing with this function, or that function. Const act. What is act? It's a problem, right? So, okay, later on I will understand. This mode selected value dot value. So why value dot value? Why not mode selected dot value? It's dot value, so no need for that value, but it's okay. equal chart data presentation modes enum dot combine. Do I need the enum? Enumerate. But it's okay, this combine will, and I will understand that it's numerator. Okay, not combine, that's what I care about. If he didn't use an enumeration and use this combine that contain a string, that he enumerates with string, not with enumerators of the language, it will be okay for me. I don't care. So why this enum? Okay. So let's is this that pen here? Why should we use this, that enum? Why value with value? Okay. And what is act? Actually, act is the real problem here. Everything else is acceptable. Okay, but the act is the real problem for me. But when I saw that and that, I started to understand that this might be an action, but I'm not sure. Okay. Now call it CM. What is that CM? Okay. This potential calculation selected value to value again. Oh, I feel bad about that, but it's okay. Now, const params. Okay, and when I did that, actually, I got the meaning of params, but I'm not okay that that thing should be called
Parameters
params.
of what?
Yes, what parameters of what? Yeah. Okay, but anyhow, I can skip that one. Okay. Now, I found, oh, there is the key, that is the key to interpret what was happening up here. This RID in the middle. Okay, where is the RID? I found
The green one. The green one.
RID.
The green one.
Next to the comment.
Oh yeah. So it's the next one. So that RID is for report ID, and the act is for action. So after suffering all that time, I found the clue. And now I understand that this is the report ID. So that is the report name. It's better than report ID. Okay, but it's okay, no problem. It can be report ID. It's 5-star product summary. So the 5-star product summary is the report that we are targeting. I started to understand. And here we define the action that will target that report. Oh, so that is the action that I'm going to choose to define how I'm going to create the link that will send me to the targeted report.
Oh, brilliant.
It's written by a professional coder who has a master's degree in AI, and he written one of the best algorithms in making opinion mining. And that product is a research product that was done by a certain company without mentioning names, and he wrote that.
He understands what you want.
What?
He understands what you want.
Yes, he understands.
Yeah, he understands.
But I was the one who was modifying that.
I think he cared more about the product.
Okay, so how we solve that? So that's why I told you it's normal. Tell me the problems you faced while you are reading this. So it's easy to say that I don't know what is this action. I am the one who making the problem here. You should ask me what is that act? What is that act? And what is that CM? I'll tell them I don't know what is CM. Still a second.
So did you did the CM? And what is the percentage for 27 and 22?
Ah yes, this is the magic numbers. By the way,
Till now I didn't understand what.
Yes, I updated that to use names for it. Actually, it was something related to slash, and this was like a space or something, because we are creating a stream, so it is like
To convert it to a link.
something searching inside it.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah, but it's still magic number. That's right. You don't understand. So we are trying to understand together and solve this maze. So please don't do that to someone. Okay, now let's look at that function. We still have a time for exercise, right?
How much time you need? Ask him how much time you need.
No, we don't have time.
And you sprint, we ask you for you sprint. Correct? Not movement. And you can ask that.
Okay, each group will take one. Actually, I painted for everyone, but it seems that the printer has a problem with ink. So I'll try to make it clean one for every team. That's this team. This is the first or second page. This is the second. First box. Okay, so on. Can I help you? Let me help you. Only one thing. كل واحد تيم واحد.
عاوزين واحدة فعلا يا جماعة.
بحاول اطلع واحدة سليمة تانية. Okay, you have 3 minutes to tell me what this function does.
Join here. مفيش ورقة تانية دلوقتي. تعالى جوين هنا على السماعة.
هو اداهم ورق ما احنا ما اداناش طب احنا نعمل ايه يا
3 minutes tell me
لا خلاص بص انت تشترك مع الجروب
بقى ولا كويس كده. حبايبي. احنا مش شايفين. هو بص هو اساسا مرتين، هو كل موضوع مرتين بس يعني بص ده ايه الفانكشن يعني هتلاقي لا ده مش مهم قوي يعني هتلاقي ان شاء الله هتمشي معاك يعني. هي المفروض 3 minutes حد يمشي.
What is the target here?
قولوا لي بتعمل ايه؟ I want to know what you do. Tell me what this. Tell me the intent of that function.
Which
There is a function called table HTML. Someone created that function for a certain reason. Tell me what this function should do. Tell me the intent. There is no right answer here.
I think I got the idea of these functions. If you have chocolate, I will.
Let us check it.
I will not answer without chocolate.
هيعمل حاجات معينة.
Okay, everybody? Okay? Enough? Okay. So I want to hear from each group. يعني it's not it doesn't matter you understand it well or not. It's not your fault. It's the fault of the one who wrote that function. Okay? What is it? I have this.
Guys, would you mind to close the Wi-Fi? Anyone using the Wi-Fi, please close it. This makes problem. I can see many guys using the Wi-Fi. Thank you. Kind reminder to close the Wi-Fi. مصطفى خرجت انت تاني طلعت
We 10 minutes break till we solve the technical problem.